The film opens with a family of five: Beth, her husband Pat, and their three children, Vincent, Ben, and Sam. Beth and Pat's love for each other is evident, and their family is portrayed as close-knit and happy. Beth is preparing to go to the high school reunion with her three children at a grand hotel, while Pat is staying back because of his restaurant work. In the next scene, Beth reaches the grand hotel where the reunion is happening. The scene is filled with people laughing, dancing, and catching up. Beth mingles with friends and former classmates, introducing them to her children. As Beth reaches the hotel reception, she tells her older son Vincent to look after Ben and goes to pay at the hotel reception. As the hotel is crowded, Beth loses sight of her sons for a few minutes. When she goes back, she finds out that her younger son Ben is missing. She asks Vincent, but he is unaware of his brother. At first, she thinks he must be somewhere around and searches lightly along with her friends. But after some time of searching, they are unable to find him. Panic sets in as she frantically searches the immediate area, calling out his name. The camera shifts between close-ups of Beth's face, revealing her fear and disbelief. Hearing that his son is lost, Pat quickly gets there. Pat notices Beth's distress and joins the search. Now at the hotel, people are frantically looking for Ben. Beth is visibly distraught, and Pat's face reflects his increasing concern. The camera pans over to a large group of people searching the hotel's hallways and ballroom, but Ben is nowhere to be found. Beth and Pat exchange worried glances, and the camera focuses on their expressions of shock and despair. The scene transitions to the hotel's exterior courtyard, where Pat searches for Ben. He calls out Ben's name, his voice filled with desperation. The camera captures the vastness of the courtyard, emphasizing the family's helplessness in finding their son. As Pat searches, the camera cuts to Beth inside the hotel ballroom, still frantically calling out Ben's name. The atmosphere is tense, and the camera captures the anxious faces of the people around her. Beth's voice wavers as her panic intensifies. Pat is visibly distressed, his voice hoarse from calling Ben's name. The camera moves between close-ups of Pat's face and shots of the empty courtyard, conveying his sense of helplessness. The story continues with the Capador family's relentless search for Ben, their determination undeterred as they scour the hotel and its surroundings. Their faces become a canvas of anxiety and frustration, the tension hanging heavily in the air as they comb through every nook and cranny in desperate pursuit of any clue that might lead them to their missing son. In a subsequent scene, the focus shifts to a police officer meticulously documenting the details of Ben's disappearance from Beth and Pat. Their faces bear the unmistakable marks of distress as they recount the harrowing events that led to their son's vanishing act. Their expressions etch in stone the emotional toll this ordeal extracts from their souls. As time ticks by, the family persists in their search, now accompanied by other concerned guests and hotel staff. They navigate the hallways, staircases, and rooms, all while the urgency of the situation is underscored by a haunting musical score, leaving everyone on edge, yearning for resolution. Hours turn into a relentless grind, and Beth and Pat are left physically and emotionally drained. The weight of their exhaustion is evident on their weary faces, and the silent exchange of glances between them is heavy with despair and guilt. Beth's sighs betray her, reflecting the unbearable weight of her heartache. The story transitions yet again, this time to a gathering of police officers who are coordinating the search efforts. Their faces convey a sense of concern and unwavering determination as they discuss their progress and the need to expand their search radius. Their collective resolve shines through. The family finally returns to their hotel room, a heavy silence blanketing the space. Beth perches on the edge of the bed, her face buried in her hands, while Pat stands nearby, his thoughts a whirlwind of uncertainty. The room becomes a chamber of wordless despair, the atmosphere thick with helplessness. Their relentless search efforts continue, with the family putting up posters and distributing flyers bearing Ben's photo. The weight of their tireless efforts and the growing media attention is evident, as news coverage highlights the scope of their tragedy and the outpouring of support from the community. The scene shifts to 9 years later at the Capadora's restaurant opening in Chicago, where they have moved to start a new life. Despite their efforts, the shadow of Ben's disappearance continues to linger over them. Beth's guilt remains palpable, and the emotional distance between Beth and Pat is unmistakable. As the film continues, it depicts the passage of time in the Capadora family's attempts to move forward. Vincent, the older son, is now a teenager and grapples with feelings of isolation and neglect, as the family's focus remains on finding Ben. Over time, Beth and Pat's relationship degrades, and they keep an emotional distance. The family's attempt to move forward is contrasted with the lingering pain of Ben's absence. A significant turning point occurs when Beth receives a knock at the door. There is a 12-year-old boy standing at the front door. Beth quickly recognizes her missing son and becomes nervous and clumsy. She experiences a mix of hope and panic as she sees the boy. The boy asks Beth if her lawn needs mowing. Ben quickly agrees, and as the boy starts working, Beth takes his pictures from the window. In the next scene, after the pictures are ready, Beth compares the boy's picture to Ben's aging projection pictures. She shows the picture to her husband Pat, and he is as surprised as Beth. That night, Beth falls asleep on the porch. The next day, the couple meets with the investigator and shows them the pictures. The investigator explains the process of identification and the possibility of Sam being Ben. After the investigation, they find out that Ben was kidnapped by a lady at the reunion. The kidnapper then married Ben's stepfather. She lied to her husband and everyone about Ben being her own. Ben's stepfather had no idea about the kidnapping and loved Ben very much. The kidnapper took her life 5 years ago. The family reunites with Ben, who has been living nearby with his stepfather. Ben moves back to his family but finds it difficult to adjust. Ultimately, Ben decides to return to his stepfather. The Capador family comes to accept his choice, recognizing that it's what he truly wants. The film concludes with a scene where Ben returns to his biological family at night. Ben plays basketball alone in the dark in front of Beth's home. Vincent hears the noise and joins Ben. Ben reveals that he is moving back to his original family. The brothers play basketball together in the night. The film concludes with Beth and Pat looking at their sons out of the window.